short live stream. For a short live stream. Hello, hello, hello. If anyone is out. I also understand probably not going to be a lot of people. It's late on a Sunday. I got a lot of East Coast fans. It's midnight 21 on in the ESTs right now. Short nightcap live stream for everybody. Hey, King Yeti, what's up? And Mad Crypto. Good to see you both. How are you guys both doing? I don't know if either of you can even hear me at this moment. Loading up the old Volcani. But we shall start with the customary dab. Hey, Stephanie, welcome, welcome. So glad you could join us. Hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. As wonderful as weekends can be. They all seem to bleed together now. Oh, guys, don't worry. Doing my first little dab of the evening. Here we go. Some kind of sauce of some kind. Wonderful. We'll wait for that to fill up there. Mad Crypto says, still smoking on some Steezy because his neighbors are crybabies, but he's driving to LA tomorrow and to buy some Jungle Boys weed. What is Jungle Boys weed? And also, Mad Crypto, I'm sorry, but you will have to remind me, my friend, where you reside, because I can't remember what the legality of the situation is where you're at. If it's, yeah, I'm curious why your neighbors are crybabies. I'm guessing you live in a state that isn't quite as permissible as California, and they are narcs. Is that the situation? And I have never heard of Jungle Boys before, but it seems to be a pretty popular thing here in chat. Ricardo Hernandez says, was. Right back to you, Ricardo. Thanks for joining us, man. Glad you could be here. Lenore, thanks for tuning back in, Lenore. Hope all is well with you, my friend. Lenore, I wouldn't have it any other way. And no judgment on typos here. We're not so persnickety or pedantic with our typographical errors here. But I do have a question about typos that I was wondering just recently. And that is actually about the word typo, and I guess its usage. What do people mean when they say I made a typo or that's a typo? Because I'm under the impression, and I could be wrong, I'll actually look it up right now, that typo being short for typographical error, right? And yes, okay. So a typo, it does look like it is referring to a typographical error, but what that means is not. When people say typo, I think they mean to use any time somebody messes up their grammar online or misspells a word. But a misspelling is not the same thing as a mistake. A misspelling is there's intentionality. So is a misspelled word a typo or is it just an error? I would say that a misspelled word is not a typo. That a typo is truly only like something that is done in error, where you're typing really quickly and you forget the H in the, or type the word and twice or something to that effect, or, transpose two letters in the word dolphin or something, But I think it's used much more commonly just to mean any mistake one makes while typing text. But that also gets people out of a lot of trouble for, I guess, not knowing grammar or how to spell things. It's like, oh, I just made a mistake. It's like, well, no, you didn't make a mistake. Wait, the mistake was made long ago. Wow, what a crazy dumb thing to talk about. Why I'm talking about those is Buddies, THC soft gels. I forgot if I mentioned these on stream or not. Reviewed these sometime last week. They're great. 50 milligrams of THC. I'm on 150 milligrams right now for this nightcap. Okay. Mad Crypto, I thought you lived in California. That's why I was so confused. That's why I was like, wait, why would your neighbors be crybabies? So they're just, it's not even that they are annoyed because your neighbor is maybe doing some illicit activity. They're annoyed because they don't like the way weed smells. Well, it's like, well, what if you liked exotic cooking? Is that a reason to bitch on somebody? Like, oh, I don't like the way those exotic spices smell. There is no harm in smelling weed odor. I don't know. To each their own. Ricardo says, have a good night, best weed reviewer. Well, thanks, man. You as well. Lenore says, not gonna lie, I'm so high that the conditionals make me envision many infinite loops. I feel like Doctor Strange putting all of this together. Wow. It's cool that those feelings were inspired in you. I have to say that I felt there was a moment in my life about 6 months after the Doctor Strange movie came out where I felt like I wanted to be mad on the internet, damn it. Even though I knew it was a totally independent event, that these people just came up with this stupid, dumb thing on their own and did it. But inexplicably, I used to, after the Doctor Strange movie would come out, I would go to, every time I would go to approach a crosswalk, and there would be the little, like, red hand, I would try to wait for when, or any traffic light, even just waiting at a traffic light in a vehicle, going from red to green, I would watch the other traffic lights, try to time exactly when it would turn green, or the little white walk sign would come up, and in the exact second before I would like to go, I would say, Doctor Strange, and then have it flash. Mostly just to annoy my wife. And it was very annoying. And then, sure enough, there's this viral video out of South Korea of these Korean kids doing the exact same thing. Just this one kid going up to these traffic lights. He is in a Doctor Strange costume, however. So he's up a level. And he does the exact same incredibly stupid joke, which is waits for the instant before a traffic light is to change, and then goes, Doctor Strange. And then it changes, and everybody's like, oh my god, he's so amazing. So I felt like, hey man, I should be famous on the internet too for 4 seconds. And then the thought passed, and then I was like, good on you, kids. True story. Mad Crypto says, I know, maybe that with this after COVID era, they won't smell because of the face masks. Maybe. I do really wonder what the world looks like in a post-COVID. I know I've already had this discussion, and I won't go over it too much, but what sticks with us? What is going to be for, what of these massive changes that we've all made to our lives continue post, well, let's hope vaccine, return to whatever normalcy will be. It's like there's some things about this world that are happening right now that are permanent, and it's just impossible to know which. It's not impossible to believe that once let's assume, please, a vaccine comes and most people take it, and that a couple years after that, after herd immunity is built up, it's very easy to imagine we'll still live in a world where not the majority, not even close to the majority, but a percentage of Americans will continue to wear masks, that America will adopt a much more... and especially with as bad as it is here, I don't think that's going to happen. There's not going to be a huge increase in mask wearing in like Europe or even Canada. But because it's so terrible in the U.S., I could totally see us ending up more like a China or Japan and having just a decent number of people wandering around or walking around wearing masks. That's not a judgment on anybody, on the people wearing them, not wearing them. It's just, one of those things that we may need to expect to have, change forever going forward. And that's a small one. The permanent changes are that we may very well have are working from home, the destruction of commercial real estate, however we're going to figure out schools, whatever kind of decisions are going to be made around schools in the next 6 months, whatever ones actually work and don't get people killed or sick, those may be permanent. There may be no going back from a lot of these new convenient ways of doing things. The genie may not be able to go back in the bottle. But then again, I have no idea what I'm talking about, and neither does anybody else. All anybody has is slightly educated guesses. Lenore says, I'm having some limited edition tiramisu Oreos. Wow, what a crazy ultra specific Oreo flavor. I guess you just got to keep getting more and more specialized. I didn't know this about the way sort of junk food operated until somewhat recently when I read a book about the food industry. When it was pointed out to me, and first I was like, that doesn't make any sense, and then thought about it, read more about it in the book, and was like, oh, okay, I get that now. when a company, let's say a big offender's the wrong choice of word, but we'll use it, or Oreo being one, when a food company releases tons of new flavors and limited editions and this, that's, and the others, seasonal variants, all that kind of fun stuff. The purpose of that is not to try to get new customers. It's so much harder to get new customers. Those are like very different ways of getting first time customers. It's not by making a weird version of the thing you're famous for. It's like by amping up the marketing for the thing you're already famous for. But anyways, I digress. The reason you make the weird shit, the limited edition, the crazy flavors, all that shit, is for the people who are already a fan of your product, for those fans to both A, consume more, and B, not to be tempted to switch to another brand. So like, they're all of those products, like a tiramisu Oreo, is kind of like is Oreo's attempt for you not to get disinterested in Oreo, and for you to be like, oh, sure, I've got a box of regular Oreos, a half box of double stuffs, a box of Goldens, a 3/4 box mint, and what was I thinking? Why did I do this? A sleeve left of pumpkin spice Oreos. But you know what? Maybe I could use a whole package of tiramisu Oreos. That's the other thing. It's like, they're already fans, and they're going to maybe even be completionists. They're going to want to try every kind of Oreo. So, I don't know why I decided to tell you that, but I found that interesting. I would have assumed it was all about trying to get new people to try your stuff. But that is not true. It's about keeping your customers buying your stuff. Weird. Many 509 says, how's it going from Walla Walla? It's going great, man. I love every time you pop up, Manny 509, because I get to say, how's it going from Walla Walla, which is a delight. King Yeti says, what, if any, podcasts do you listen to? Ocean. I will first, King Yeti, confess that in the past 18 months or so, I have drastically reduced the number of podcasts that I listen to, mostly so that I can listen to more audiobooks and less podcasts. But I still listen to a lot of podcasts. Must listens, my favorites. All of the, well, not all, but a great number of the Slate podcast lineup. And Slate's podcast have been around since the very fucking beginning. So the Slate Political Gabfest, the Slate Culture Gabfest, literally been listening to them for a goddamn decade of my life. It's so weird. To think about it, I've been listening to these shows weekly for a whole decade. 52 shows a year for 10 years. It's just weird. So I listened to those, Slate Money, then I, of course, Hardcore History. Not that that needs to be said. Thankfully, it's pretty fucking huge at this point, but still love me some Hardcore History. I will occasionally go and listen to the New York Times The Daily. It's weird. I mostly am a completionist when it comes to podcasts. I'll listen to everything from a person, but that one I do dip in and out of. Let's see. What else? Oh, let me just pull out my phone here. I have a podcast, was a podcast nut for a long time in my life. I've also been listening to podcasts since the year 2005. The very first podcast I ever listened to was my beloved One Up Yours podcast when I was a freshman in college. The first podcast I ever heard of, wasn't sure what it was. I was like, oh, down one of this on my iPod. It was a podcast from a beloved video game website, now past, called OneUp.com. I listen to the Vox podcasts. So your The Weeds, the Ezra Klein show. It's an interview show. And then the one gaming podcast that I listen to still. I don't listen to any other media podcasts anymore. I don't listen to anything that's like about movies or that kind of stuff. I'm taking all of that out of my media diet. But I do listen to one gaming podcast still, and that's the podcast DLC. But yeah, podcasts, they're all great. How about yourself, King Yeti? What do you listen to? What are your podcasts that you enjoy? It's amazing how quickly they've become such massive business. Thanks Serial, thanks Joe Rogan, and then also now thanks Spotify and who else is bidding like crazy? There are a lot of people who are buying podcasting studios up the wazoo. So King Yeti, one last thing about podcasts. A lot of the podcasts that I took out of my diet were NPR podcasts. God damn it, I gotta stop saying that word. Like, I stopped listening to This American Life. I stopped listening to all the big ones from NPR. Not for any reason. I mean, I loved Radiolab back in the day. I loved them all. But I don't know. I just took them, removed all of them from the media diet, and I had something else to say about why I stopped listening to a lot of the NPR ones, but I can't remember. But I love podcasts. But now it's all about, now I listen to audiobooks almost exclusively. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. A lot. Lenore says, I totally agree, because who would want Sour Patch Kids cereal? My neighborhood drops me off stuff from the food bank. Well, that's very cool, Lenore. I'm glad to hear that. I have seen the Sour Patch Kids cereal. One of the closest grocery stores to us is there's like a grocery store that has a bunch of weird brands and shit in it, and it has all of, it's kind of like a Big Lots, but for food, I guess, in that it gets like the stuff that people reject. I don't know. It's in Long Beach, so I've seen the Sour Patch Kids cereal. I've seen Jolly Ranchers cereal. What the fuck? Yeah, you nailed it with Sour Patch Kids cereal, because the only person who is going to try it, well, there are a couple, masochists, sadists who have prisoners that they really want to fuck with, Sour Patch Kids fans that are also masochists, and the blind being having a prank being pulled on them in a very mean way. Those are the only people I can imagine willingly eating Sour Patch Kids cereal. It sounds so revolting saying it out loud. And even though I have the the sensibility of like a 9-year-old in terms of tastes, I love like the weird shit just to try it when somebody comes up with some goofy, out there flavor. Just the fucking Jelly Belly weird ones. I tried all of the Harry Potter Bertie Bott's. Those are the terms. Which, by the way, I'm sure they have so many more. I haven't done them since I was in college. I mean, it's been 10 years easily. No, more than that since I've had them. And to me, the crazy thing was, a lot of them were awful, but the one that I found most revolting out of the Bertie Bott's flavor beans, and then I'll stop talking about Bertie Bott's, was not the barf one, which the barf one, let's face it, tastes exactly like a black cherry warhead, which if you ever had warheads or mean friends who made you eat warheads, and I like sour things, the black cherry ones tasted like literal bile, like you had thrown up in your mouth, that heavily acidic, like I need to go drink some mouthwash, get this flavor out of my mouth kind of thing. Anyways, vomit one, whatever, grass, whatever, booger, fine. The most revolting Bertie Bott's flavor beans, the one that gives me just like nightmares to think about biting into to today, like over a decade later, is the pepper one. And I like some ground pepper, but it's like biting into a big, giant, massive peppercorn, except, that would be kind of airy and crunchy and, you could get through it. But this is like if somebody made, wanted to make peppercorn concentrate and then basically took high temperature and pressure and mashed together 1,000 tons of peppercorn and condensed it down into a jelly bean shaped form. And then you just pop that motherfucker in your mouth. God damn. I mean, your tongue is ruined for like 2 days. Bertie Bott's jelly beans, Bertie Bott's every flavor beans pepper. It's my new cherry on top. Ranman, welcome Ranman, 1959 says, M&M should have stopped after the peanut M&M, but then Ranman, how would we have ever had the peanut butter M&M? How would we have ever had the M&M Crispy? How would we have ever had the M&M Mini? How would we have ever had the M&M Pretzel? And how would we have ever had the M&M Hazelnut? But all those other ones are actually good. So, King Yeti backing me up immediately below. Peanut butter M&Ms are fire. Thank you, King Yeti. I knew you were a wise man. King Yeti also with the Dan Carlin is the man. I think I've never listened to his Common Sense podcast, King Yeti, but I get the impression that maybe you guys are more aligned politically, or you guys have some similar philosophies in that regard. But I don't know that for sure, but I get that impression that he might be a more classical libertarian, but I don't know why I think that. Stephanie also backing me up. Thank you as well, Stephanie. I knew you were classy with the, yes, peanut butter M&Ms are 3 smiley faces with tongue. I can't think of a higher honor. Other than maybe the shit emoji, used ironically. King Yeti says, have you ever listened to Higher Side Chats? I have not. What are those, King Yeti? Tom Covenant says, howdy, stranger. Do you still recommend most Kiva chocolate edibles? Boy, do I, Tom Covenant. I really do. They are all great. They're still great. Had a thing of terabytes recently, and they were still lip smacking. I will get caught up on chat. I do feel like I owe some more inhaling of weed, though. I was very slow-paced. Shame on me. Oh. So, Tom Covenant, one more time, as I'm getting caught up here on chat, just to reiterate, yes, Kiva is incredible. No hesitation in endorsing any of their stuff, including their gummies and their mints. King Yeti says Legion of Skanks, Microaggressions with Charlie Robinson, Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli. Don't know them. Don't know any of those. Michael Grob. Hello. Hello, Michael. Grob. What a name. Grob. Grob. Fun to say. Grob. Cool, man. I'm jealous. You could call me the Grob. You could be called the Grobster, the Grob Man, Grobbo, Grobsy, Grobsington, Gribgrob. The sky's the limit with a last name like Grob. If your last name isn't Grob, I'm sorry. But also, maybe change it. Annihilations. Hey, right back at you, Annihilations. Loved both the book and the movie. But the singular version, I guess. It's plural. I think even the movie is better than the book. But I'm just going to say that. Need to watch Devs on Hulu soon. I'll just put that out there too. Lenore says, question. Do foods you don't like make you feel full quicker? Lenore, that question is almost philosophical, I think. Here's my answer, Lenore. It depends whether there is other food that your appetite that you really enjoy is if it's in close proximity. So my guess is you would feel, and I have no data to back this up, but here's my guess, my theory, is that you're going to feel full quicker on food that you detest if it's the only food that is around. So let's say you're at a table and somebody comes to feed you liver and onions. Liver and onions you detest. It makes you vomit at the sight of it. Normally you're a 10 ounces of red meat in a serving kind of guy. I bet you feel quite full on 4 ounces of liver and onions. If it's the only thing that's there, no matter how much liver and onions is there. But I bet if you're at a place, a friend's house, and friend A, it's a potluck, but you're not bringing anything because you're an asshole. But you have 2 other friends and they're both bringing something. It's going to be convoluted because of course it is. So friend A is bringing liver and onions, which he's so fucking proud of. He wants you to eat every bit of it because he thinks it's the best thing he's ever done, and you hate it. And friend B is bringing his prized filet mignon, but he really doesn't want you to eat it because he kind of wants to eat it, but you're a huge filet mignon fan. I bet you after 4 ounces of that liver and onions, you still feel pretty full. Or you don't feel that full because you see that filet mignon over there, and you are still hungry for that. So I hope that answered your question. because it probably did not. Stephanie says, I'm none of these. I've tried them and they're disgusting. I don't know. Was it the suggestions of King Yeti? I don't know what any of those things are, but or was it the M&Ms? Anyways, Annihilation says PB&J burgers are bomb. I have heard of peanut butter as a burger topping before, but I don't think I've ever heard of jelly. What kind of jelly would you use, Annihilations? And do you make it, is it some kind of special, is it like a take on jelly? I'm kind of intrigued, to be honest, in a PB&J burger. That sounds intriguing. It could be vile, but, you know, got to roll the dice sometimes. Mr. Grob says, how's your Sunday night going? Well, Michael, it's going really well. Thanks for asking. How about yours? Lenore says, I wanted to pull a sugar-free gummy prank of my friend. Lenore, man, that's a rough prank, dude. That could make somebody real uncomfortable for a while. Are you sure they're your friend if you want to send them down that road? We're talking about like the sugar-free 5-pound, the classic 5-pound sugar-free bag of Haribo gummy bears that give you the doots, because, oof, man. Reminds me of some classic internet bits of, what would you call it? Lore, not lore, little bits of arcana, I'll call it that. Little bits of internet arcana from early on, which was like web reviews of Lay's Stacks chips or baked Pringles. Was that another one? I think baked Pringles was one, or Lay's Stacks. The first generation. These were diet chips that were cooked. I guess the oil was something called oleana. I think it's oleana. I can't remember exactly how you say it. I better not try. But a type of bizarro, weird, obviously not incredibly food safe cooking oil that when you ate a lot of it, aka when you were eating a lot of chips that you thought you could eat a lot of and not get fat from, it had the tendency to give you uncontrollable, unbelievable, unimaginably vile diarrhea, and the descriptions of what sort of emanates from one's asshole in terms of viscosity and tackiness, and its ability to stain things is unreal. There's some incredible examples of, just Google like fucking, I don't know, diet Pringle oleana, something, you'll find it. You guys know what Google is. You know how to Google. I don't need to explain it to you. If you want to read about gross diarrhea, that's what you need to do. Okay. Ms. M says, don't you enjoy getting high outdoors more compared to indoors? Ms. M, yes, absolutely, of course. I wish I had the opportunity to do it in a more relaxing way. So I live in a condo, and while I do have access to like an outdoor area, it's just not a perfect relaxing sort of, sequestered area. But I love to just take a vape pen and walk around, take the dogs on a walk. All that's super wonderful. But yeah, I wish I had the hammock opportunity. I guess I do. I mean, I live very close. I live like minutes walk from a beach, and could take a hammock with me. No excuses. Shame on me. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. Annihilations says, "Are you a virgin?" Proud. Virgin. Yes. Nothing wrong with that. Lenore says, "Smoker mythology, you get more high smoking in a new location. Outside has the most new places." I have not heard that bit of smoking old wives' talery. Of course, smoking is filled with those sort of tips on how to get the high the most, or how to feel like getting high the first time again, or ways to maximize your tolerance breaks, or things to eat that you should eat before smoking, or things that you should eat after smoking, or things to avoid eating while smoking, or things to avoid, all of that. Most of it's unfounded. I generally find that I get less high if I am in public areas than if I am at my own house. I feel usually the effects are greater in my own house than out in public, where I, for whatever reason, would feel an equivalent amount of THC less. Okay. Ms. M says, "Has anyone mistaken you for a devotee Islamic scholar, a devoted Islamic scholar? I don't believe so. Any reason to think, to assume why somebody would, Ms. M? Is there something about me that says cleric? If so, cool. Who doesn't want to be an Islamic scholar? Those motherfuckers gave us modern science and shit, dude. Math. They may be a little in the nonsensical, pointless, why do we continue to do this anyways, east-west divide, the Islamic side of the science scholarship has maybe fallen behind their sort of more Western secular brethren recently. But you got to respect that history. I mean, those dudes, who knows where we would be without some of the turn of the millennia Islamic scholars. Maths galore right there. So, but no, I don't know. I don't think anybody has ever mistaken me for one. I probably don't look cerebral enough. People don't look at me and think scholar. People look at me and they think leper. Tom Covenant says, "Cool, thank you. The reason I ask is about Kiva, is that I have a chance to get their products and or Cushy Punch gummies in Michigan. Kiva better than Cushy, in your opinion?" Yes. Cushy Punch is not bad. As a matter of fact, I think, they have some legitimately good stuff, Cushy Punch. They're no slouch. You should not be slighted if that's what you receive. But I would say definitively, though, if you can select one, go with Kiva over Cushy Punch. Unless they're charging you, like, double. Stephanie agrees that Jolly Rancher and Sour Patch Kids cereals are barfo. Thank you. C-Long1999 says, "Howdy, just joined. What you smoking on?" Great question. You have to do this. This is GMO, the strain, from Claiborne County Farms. It is an astounding 36.25% THC. It's very good stuff. I love it a lot. Space Dude, welcome. Lenore, Thank you. Filled me in. Oh my God, Lenore, amazing. What recall. Thank you. Stephanie Merlin says, been watching your videos for a while and just haven't been able to comment. You're one of my favorites. Have you heard of cannabinoids hypermesis syndrome? No. I've been smoking for a year and have been nauseous. I have not. Would you fill me in, Stephanie? That is, yeah, I have never encountered that before in my life. So is it the smoking that has been making you nauseous, Stephanie? And also, thank you for the kind words. Default Skin says, if you could only take dabs or edibles for the rest of your life, what would it be? It would definitively 100% without hesitation, Default Skin, it would be my beloved edibles. No slouch. Dabs are no slouch. Dabs are great. Dabs are wonderful. They are just, edibles are my favorite kind of, weed experience far and away. I think they're the most convenient. They're the most, yeah, just all the boxes that I like to check. I like my weed strong. I don't like to have to keep going back to it like these bags. And I think edibles are probably, this is way less harmful than doing something out of a pipe or, God forbid, like a cigarette, but it's still not great for your lungs and esophagus to be doing inhalants like that, and edibles take that out of the equation as well. My holy grail is like the perfect capsule. These buddies are great, that at 50 milligrams a capsule, but they're still price to high ratio. They're still not quite there, but they're getting close, man. One day, I assume the soft gel capsule or tincture will become my favorite weed ingestion mechanism. THC ingestion mechanism. Prediction. It may happen this year. Who knows? Things are happening. Default Skin. Oh, also, that is, that's become a new, like, term, for, like, I heard, maybe this is one of those things that, the New York Times blows out of proportion and it doesn't really exist because they don't really understand kids, but some part of it, reading it, was like, yeah, that, I could see how that could happen. But I remember reading a rash of stories a year or so ago about how there was a lot of bullying around free-to-play games, your Fortnites, your Leagues of Legends, your Hearthstones, your, what's the new Riot one, Valorant, where you would mock the kids who had quote-unquote default skins because they were too poor to afford, or too unskilled to afford to earn, I guess, dope-ass skins like John Wick or Thanos. Is that true? Does that happen? Sounds possible. Bully's gonna bully. Lenore says, I believe you feeling higher in the confinement of your home leads me to prefer indica dominant dank. Lenore, you are absolutely correct. Pablo, welcome Pablo, says you should also try Clear water clear cartridges. A lot of people hate on them, but they have very good terpene profiles, and they even have a scanning code on the back for lab results. Oh, Pablo, I will be on the lookout for them. I will also be on the lookout for the controversy around them, as you don't get a lot of hate about a lot of things, but I'm always curious about the things that do attract a lot of hate. Peter S. says, hi from Laguna Beach, joining in with my PAX Pro. Cool, man. Is that your PAX Era Pro, your PAX Pods Pro, or like your PAX, the PAX Original Herb Vaporizer Pro? Because do they have a Pro of those? I've heard rumors that there's a PAX 4 coming soon. I'm still on a PAX 2. Lenore says, I've been smoking for a year. It seems smoking gives me IBS. However, science says weed actually helps against IBS. Lenore, that is quote unquote science says a lot of quote unquote things about weed. Now, Lenore, I am a lover of weed. I love weed, and I really would love all of those things that you hear about weed and its various effects on gut health and brain health, and it's how it wards against neurodegenerative diseases, and how it promotes this and deters that and encourages this, but helps ward against that. I really want all of those to be true, but I am skeptical is maybe too, isn't even a strong enough word. A lot of that reporting is such bullshit, man. And it comes from such, and everybody involved up and down the line should know better about this kind of shit in reporting, especially when it gets reported in like major journalistic outlets. I mean, I know shit like that's always going to get posted on some shitty LOL Science Facebook group or whatever, but like when you see stuff about these miraculous health benefits from weed or CBD pop up in the New York Times, everybody involved should be way more cautious in that kind of reporting. Everybody wants weed to be very good for your health, and there are certainly things that it is beneficial for, that there is a lot of good science out there for, but there are not enough studies about anything on weed. There are just not. There are not. And the studies that have been done that have shown some results, those results are usually almost always very, the findings they find, whatever the health benefits they are marginal. But the sample sizes for those things are always pitifully small, because it is still incredibly hard to get funding to do science for weed research. And technically, you still have to do your weed research using that, like, weed from the federal government that's like, 2% THC because it's some strain from like the 70s or some shit. If you want to do it right, that's the way you have to do it. It's a lot of that weed science is it's just bunk, because the sample size, the number of trials and shit they're doing is too low to matter. Like when, they have a sample size of like 50 people, it doesn't matter what you find. It's just not enough people. And then on the more pernicious thing is on both the journalistic side and even on the science side. And I hate saying this because, well, one, I love weed and I love journalism. I love high quality journalism and I love high quality science, but the incentive structures are aligned in such a way as to make everybody want to make things seem way more exaggerated than they are, because nothing drives clicks like results about how great weed are. People love reading stories about how great weed are. So it encourages journalists to write stories about weed, and then to also to look for stories about weed, and then to even make those, because they'll just go troll scientific journals till they find something, or they'll just get fucking goddamn press releases emailed directly to them from, Harvard medical whatever press, and then they'll just basically publish those press releases because, again, people are going to click on stories about weed, and they want to see positive things about weed because everybody smokes weed and people want to know that weed is good for them. So because journalists are out there always publishing research or publishing stories in media outlets about weed, that makes scientists more, encourages them to want to make their weed results look really positive, like it's really good for your health, because, well, that will help them get more media coverage. It'll get them in the New York Times if they can find some media or some, study that suggests that, oh, smoking 2 bowls a day will reduce your risk of breast cancer by 4% for people over the age of 80. Like, you find something like that, you're going to get a blurb in the Washington Post, and then the scientist's career is boosted, and it's another product of a broken system that you see so much shit about, so much science about weed research and how good it is for you. I am not saying it's not good for you. I bet you in the end a lot of this stuff is going to pan out, but the fervor and amount of reporting is so disproportionate to the quality and amount of science being done around weed that it's just, it's worrisome. Some of it's worrisome. It's the journalistic side is not the worrisome side. The science side is the worrisome side. That idea that science needs to be concerned with getting press is very toxic. It's very, 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 very toxic. I think one of the things that I often I find most troubling about the times we live in is this seemingly like innocuous thing is the replicability crisis in psychology research. I think what that is basically some researcher had been noticing that, oh man, wow, a lot of psychological papers had been getting debunked recently in when being retested years later. Like, he was like, that's odd. That shouldn't be the case. That seems disproportionate. So he and a bunch of other colleagues at a bunch of top-tier research institutions started this massive project where they basically reran 100 of the most influential psych experiments in history and just recorded the results, compared them to what they had been reported in the past. And what they found is so mind-bogglingly troubling, to me at least, that it's just like, I don't know. It suggests a level of fallibility with both what I perceive science is supposed to be. Anyways, he found that over 50%, well over 50% of the studies could not be recreated in any way. The results could not be recreated in any way. That just their results were 100% totally different, including his own. He recreated one of his own studies in the past. In this same thing, the lead scientist did, and found that in his own study that he had done, a big, giant, well-publicized study, when he did the same study years later, got completely different results. And he even sort of suggested to himself, which I think is quite brave and very noble of him to come forward and do this whole thing. It's like, yeah, I realized, like, I was biased. Like, I was trying to get these results because I knew somehow, very likely in the back of my mind, that if I got the results that I ended up getting that would be better for my career, and that obviously influenced the outcome. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that going through in the sciences. I don't think you're going to see. I mean, psychology is obviously quite ripe for that because it's more malleable than the hard sciences. You're not going to get that same thing in biology, but you would get some of it. You would get way more. As a matter of fact, you get more than you would. I hope it wouldn't be a shocking amount, but there would be the psychology thing is not existing in a vacuum. There are a lot of scientists out there at top tier universities that are brilliant that don't even realize that they are trying very hard to get the results that they are achieving. Not because that's the result that is true, but that is the result that will help their career. I think, I don't know, man. I think there should be a lot more focus in science, and capital S science at top tier research universities, focused for a while. I mean, not exclusively. I'm not even close to exclusively, but way more than it is now in every field, including the hard sciences, your physics, your chemistries, your biologies, and then of course all of your social sciences. A lot of effort should be done to okay, well let's go back and start retesting some of these blockbuster results, or even some of these smaller ones, because it seems like the human influence on science is more pronounced than we all hoped. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong. Peter S. is his pack pros for pods. Sorry about the rant there, guys. And that rant is going to lead me to a total good night. I'm going to catch up here on chat, finish this bag with you guys. Stephanie, thank you for answering my question. She says, in certain people, the cannabis affects the gastrointestinal tract and causes nausea and vomiting in some. I notice I only feel nauseous in the morning, and if I don't smoke, snore. Wow, thank you for filling me in. I had not heard of that. I'm sorry about the feeling nauseous in the morning. Nausea is one of those unappreciated, terrible sensations. One of those ones you quickly forget how awful it is after you experience it. But then when it comes back, you're like, oh yeah, feeling nauseous is the fucking worst. Janice Brand. Oh, sorry. Stephanie says, I'm really sad because I use cannabis for my panic attacks and anxiety. I hope it's not what's wrong with me because this beautiful plant has helped me in my life so much in their life. Stephanie, well, thank you for clarifying as well with the smoke. That is very sad. I am very sorry to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that weed was helping you with both your panic attacks and anxiety. You and so many others. I hope that you do not have. Is there a test that they can do for the cannabinoid hypermesis syndrome? Will you be able to know definitively? If so, I hope it comes back negative. I hope it's something unrelated. Who knows? I hope you're just pregnant. Just kidding. But that is pregnant, or Jesus Christ, nauseous in the morning. Sorry, terrible joke. Janice Brown says, hello, I have enjoyed your channel since 2016. Well, thanks so much, man. I didn't even know I've been doing this since 2016. What is your Desert Island LP CD playlist when you are high on edibles? Janice Brown. I'll give you, okay, Shoots Too Narrow by the Shins, Southeastern by Jason Isbell, Strangers in the Alps by Phoebe Sunset Tree by the Mountain Goats. Shepherd's Dog by Iron and Wine. And Boxer by The National. Oh, and something by Waxahachie. I don't know. One of them. Any of them. Cool. All right. I think I'm almost here. Canawana says, let's get high, my friends. Thank you, Canawana Grows. Sorry that you just joined, and sorry I have to go, but it's so nice that you joined in. Peter S. says, everyone should click like. Thank you for saying that. Can we make a reoccurring live high chat setup? Excuse me, Peter S. I'm working on it. Pay attention to No, wait. What's the Twitter? That's the social media. Treble Damages. Hey, streaming user. Treble Damages. Hey, streaming watcher. Lenore Noor says, since you're a journalist in a former life, my original typing was generalist and very into science writing. What science do you enjoy writing about the most? I enjoy about reading things in psychology. Lenore, great cue. Cosmology first and foremost. Well, I would say cosmology, the whole giant branch of physics, was probably my favorite thing to read about. Then in sciences, then it would be math. I actually, believe it or not, there are a lot of good books about math. There are a lot of good books that you don't have to have any math literacy. Well, you might have to have just like the vaguest sense of like arithmetic, like middle school math at most to understand. But there are incredible books about math out there. So physics, math. I don't really give a shit about biology or chemistry. I don't think I've ever read a book about chemistry. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, it's all just a derivation of physics anyways. In the more sort of social sciences, well, I guess before social sciences, I have read some stuff of about the physical sciences, science writing, especially when I was in school, that were really good. And there was a time in my life where writing about animals, so like your Jane Goodall types would have been high on my list. I haven't read any of that kind of stuff in a long time, but I also enjoy that. But I do like a lot of the social sciences stuff, but a lot of the social sciences stuff, though, is like pop psychology minefield. You got to be careful about reading your books about psychologies and sociologies and all those ologies, because you get a lot of you get a lot of science books or self-help books gussied up as like, something applied with some scientific rigor, and it's all bullshit. Okay, and that has got me all caught up. I've done it. You guys have done it. You're all wonderful. Stephanie, I hope you feel better soon. Canawana Gross, I hope you join us again. Janice Brown, thank you for being tuned in from before I even knew I existed. Treble Damages, hello, goodbye. Peter S., Liam Atkins, just saying your names. Now I'm saying goodbye.